You want me to put that on my Tudor?
The Narcissist, Being Wounded, Video Analysis. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. The narcissist cannot stand to be ignored. As I have explained in my excellent video, love me, hate me, but never ignore me. Ignoring a narcissist is one of the worst things that you can do. Some people think that if they turn to a narcissist and call the narcissist a grade A arsehole, that they tell them that they're lousy in bed, that they're rubbish at singing, that their cooking is atrocious, that they are a desperate excuse for a human being, and the narcissist wigs out. They think, aha, I've really got to the narcissist, I've wounded them. No, you haven't. You've actually provided them with fuel. Your insults, your anger, the venomous look in your eyes, your twisted facial expression, perhaps your waving hands, have all provided strands of fuel to the narcissist. You've given the narcissist what he or she wants. The reason that they flipped out is that you've provided them with challenge fuel. You've given them fuel which is good, but you've challenged their notion of being an excellent lover, excellent cook, etc. And therefore, they have responded with ignited fury in order to negate the challenge that you have presented. But you have not wounded the narcissist. It is a common misconception amongst people that saying something horrible to the narcissist is wounding. It is not. Instead, if you were to turn on your heel and walk away from the narcissist, that is what really gets to the narcissist. If we try to contact you and you don't answer the phone, or worse still, we realize that you have changed your number and we cannot get through to you, causes an explosion of ignited fury. You don't get to see it, but you don't need to get to see it. You just need to know that that is what has happened. The narcissist cannot stand to be ignored. And when that happens, the narcissism shows itself in certain instances through a particular reaction. Harry's wife is no different. As a mid-range narcissist, she wants you to always acknowledge her existence because remember, she is the center of the universe. She is the amazing Harry's wife, who is brilliant at no matter what she does. And in the circumstances, you need to acknowledge her. Harry's wife, not being a highly provocative narcissist, wants pure positive fuel by way of adoration, praise, simpering looks, gestures that show that you're under control and that you appreciate her. She doesn't handle the hostility well. But even worse than hostility is being ignored. And I'm going to provide you with a short clip that I made mention of recently, but now I have the opportunity, being back at base, to put it all together for you so that I can take you through what's actually happening to extend your knowledge of narcissism. The clip is only a short one, so I'm going to play it a number of times so you can watch the interaction and spot the wounding in action. Here comes the clip, and my analysis will follow. It's a delightful little clip because it encapsulates so much of the narcissistic dynamic in a few seconds. It's taking place where Harry and Harry's wife are seemingly going to be interviewed or are being interviewed by a lady dressed in beige. No, Harry's wife is interviewing herself. And at first you'll notice that Harry's wife's facade is on display. She's smiling. Why? Because hitherto she's been given attention by this individual who I suspect isn't known to Harry's wife and therefore is a tertiary source. She's smiling, and then, in the course of the discussion, the individual leans in, not to speak to Harry's wife. Instead, she ignores Harry's wife and then speaks to Harry instead. It's evident that there is some background noise, and I think the individual leans in closer to Harry to hear what he is actually saying. As soon as that happens, the fuel that was being provided by this tertiary source is switched off. The pipeline is closed down and is not being provided any longer to Harry's wife. Worse still, the lady is looking at Harry, not looking at Harry's wife, and thus engaging with Harry and not with Harry's wife, demonstrating that she is not under control. She is on Harry's wife's radar because she stood in front of her, and therefore the narcissism, if it had a voice, would be stating, threat, red alert, threat. Because the control that is required over this tertiary source has been lost, and therefore the narcissism must obey the first law of narcissism, which is all appliances must be brought under control and kept under control. The interviewer, let's call her that, engages with Harry. This signals to Harry's wife in her world she isn't important, that she doesn't matter. That is problematic. And as a response to that, because it creates an immediate injection of anxiety, followed by the ignition of her fury, we see the jaw clenching that takes place. Now, I know some people have suggested that this is as a consequence of Harry and his wife perhaps have ingested some recreational pharmaceutical. And that might be the case, but what you are actually seeing is not a reaction to that, but her reaction to being wounded. The failure of this tertiary source to accord her with the continuing attention which her self-appointed importance requires means that she is wounding. The wounding is significant because it's taking place in person, and in that moment there is an injection of anxiety, and then comes the ignition of fury. And that's why we see the jutting jaw and the clenching taking place. Harry's wife plays with her hair. That's a response to the anxiety. The jutting and clenching of the jaw is her response to the ignited fury. Initially, for a microsecond, her narcissism is wanting her to grab hold of the hair of the woman in front of her and gouge her eyes out. But of course, the facade management button is flashing wildly, suggesting you can't do that because there are other appliances around you, and therefore you will lose control of them if you behave in such a way to this woman. Therefore, the direct assertion of control through the administration of physical violence, or perhaps as a result of making some snotty comment, isn't available because the facade management holds good. But the facade management isn't total. It isn't so good as to prevent her from showing that ignition of fury. It isn't able to keep that under wraps. And therefore, her touching her hair is a response to the anxiety she experiences, which is created by the loss of control, and at the same time, the fury ignites as part of the narcissistic self-defense mechanism to galvanize her into doing something, to cause her to react. It can't make her grapple this woman because that would cause too much problems in terms of control of other people and would damage the facade particularly. But the facade, whilst it strains against this ignition of fury, does so and struggles slightly because there's a crack in it as we see the jaw clenching. The break in the facade is not so great as to be her getting hold of this woman, shoving her, or spewing some vile words at her. The facade holds good in that respect, but it strains because you can see the clenching taking place. Then, the other lady who you see in the video with the curly hair, in effect comes to Harry's wife's rescue, because as she hands her a microphone, what is she doing? She's acknowledging the existence of Harry's wife and providing her with fuel through this gesture. Therefore, Harry's wife is immediately taken away from the wounding that was caused by the First Lady in beige, starts to receive fuel, and the moment has passed. It's almost like she's been distracted with the microphone that's taken her away from the need to deal with the woman in beige. She, although is still stood to one side, in that precise moment disappears off her radar. So what you have is beige lady is on radar, initially interacting with Harry's wife, providing positive fuel, showing under control, no problem. Beige lady then interacts with Harry, thus ignoring Harry's wife, starving her of fuel in that instance, and in that instance also threatening her sense of control, thus wounding her. Fury ignites, anxiety caused as motivating factors to try and get Harry's wife to do something to get the woman back under control. Facade strains against ignition of fury, hence you see the clenching going on of the jaw and the jutting of it. And before the next step is taken to get that control, distraction occurs by way of curly-haired lady offering the microphone, thus providing fuel and causing beige lady to momentarily disappear off the radar. We don't see any more of the interaction thereafter. It might be that beige lady starts talking to Harry's wife once again, thus knowing she's now come back under control and is providing fuel. Or if she walks away, that doesn't matter because she's already off the radar. But this clip is a fantastic example of showing you how quickly the narcissist is wounding and how the facade strains to contain that ignited fury. And then, as soon as it arrives, it disappears again because of the distraction of the fuel from the other lady. An excellent opportunity for learning. And you will only get that here on this channel with such a comprehensive explanation and breakdown of Harry's wife's behaviours. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for watching.